Of course, sometimes we feel that our kindness goes unnoticed or even taken for granted. This can be quite tiring and even frustrating, especially if we try to do good out of the sincerest of motives. After all, many of us grew up with the belief that helping others was the right and important thing to do. We were taught to share, to help, to give, and thus developed a desire to do good. But what if our responsiveness begins to work against us? What if people begin to see us as an inexhaustible source of help and support? This is indeed the hard truth of the modern world. The more we give, the less we seem to get in return. And it's not just about time or money, but also about our energy and peace of mind. We try to help everyone who turns to us, but we often forget about the most important thing, our own well-being. Striving for harmony and balance in our lives is what we need. The philosophy of Stoicism can help with this. Stoics teach us to find the middle ground and balance our actions. They teach us not only to be responsive and caring, but also to take care of ourselves. So if you've ever felt that your kindness isn't appreciated or that you're being victimized by your own responsiveness, maybe it's time to take a different look at the situation. Be mindful of your self-preservation, find harmony in your life, and help others with your own needs in mind. Only in this way can we make the world a better place without losing ourselves in the process. First, excessive kindness can actually make you look weak. Excessive kindness can actually make you look weak. After all, Stoicism teaches us about inner strength and self-restraint. But here's the problem. If you are always willing to help everyone, you may give the wrong impression. The difficulty lies in balancing between helping and being overly kind, which can lead to misperception. Imagine the situation. You are always ready to help, but eventually people around you see you as someone to dump responsibilities on. This can give the impression of weakness, and people may stop valuing your contribution. But the key to solving the problem is simple. Start saying no firmly, but politely. Visualize yourself as someone who respects your time and values yourself. When you set boundaries, it changes the perception of those around you. You no longer become just someone who is willing to do anything. You become someone who deserves respect. Saying no is not just a rejection, it is an important statement of your worth. It is a sign of inner strength, not weakness. So, the next time you are tempted to say yes, when inside you want to say no, remember this. Stand your ground. This is a necessary statement of your strength and worth. Second, unrealistic expectations can lead to disappointment. Unrealistic expectations can actually lead to disappointment. Here is a Stoic truth. Happiness should not depend on the actions of others. When you realize this, you find a way to maintain emotional stability. But let's be realistic. It's complicated. You show generosity deep down, hoping people will reciprocate. You want them to see and appreciate what you do. But what if they don't? This is where we get burned by our expectations. Think about it. You're always taking responsibility, doing good deeds, and helping out. Naturally, you expect others to do their part as well, right. But when they don't, it hurts, and it hurts. You end up feeling exhausted, irritated, and frustrated. But after all, everyone is different. Stoicism reminds us of a harsh truth: we cannot control the actions of others. In our expectations, outside of our authority, but we rob ourselves of a helping hand. Try to let go of those expectations. Don't expect gratitude or a return favor. True value lies in the very act of helping, not in what you receive in return. This way of thinking will allow you to remain calm no matter what comes your way. Third, too much giving attracts the wrong people. Too much giving can attract the wrong people. Here's a Stoic point of view. The vibe you give off attracts similar types of people. When you are positive and balanced, you attract generous and genuine people. But if you are constantly giving non-stop to the point of exhaustion, you may attract the wrong people who are truly needy. Imagine being the person who never says no, is always there for you and willing to help. Sounds great, doesn't it? But soon you notice that the people around you don't want to give MB, they just take. Worse, you can attract those who will take advantage of your generosity to the brink of needing to be able to spot when you are overdoing it. When you do, you conserve your energy and attract the right kind of people, those who appreciate what you offer and are willing to give. Think of it as a two-way street. You want to be around people who respect you and what you bring to the table. But don't let that disappear in a one-way give and take. In this way, you will build relationships based on mutual respect and genuine connection. This is the path of resilience, balance, respect, and true reciprocity. Fourth, losing yourself for the needs of others. Losing yourself to the needs of others is one of the Stoic wisdoms. When you are constantly preoccupied with other people's problems, you may be avoiding your own inner struggle. By constantly serving others, you lose touch with yourself. Your own voice gets lost in the noise of other people's demands. And then, when you finally get a quiet moment, all the fear and pain you've been running from comes flooding back, flooding you with your own needs. It's about preserving our essence, setting boundaries, and exploring our own path. It's not just good for us, it's the key to authentic living. So the next time you feel the urge to burrow into someone else's problems, stop for a second, face those hard feelings head on. Be true to what you really need and want. You will find that by honoring your own boundaries, you will be in a much better position to help others in a healthy and balanced way. Fifth, the trap of constant giving. The trap of constant giving is something that Stoic philosophy values. Moderation is especially important when it comes to giving. It is like steering a ship in a sea of endless demands. When you give too much and too often, it may seem nice in the beginning, but it's a slippery slope. People naturally gravitate toward what's easy. If you're always taking responsibility and solving problems, you're essentially allowing others to stay in their comfort zone. They don't feel the need to step up, not only on them, but on you. You end up taking on burdens that don't belong to you, and this can be draining on your energy and emotional well-being. Stoicism teaches us to find balance, to give, but not so much that you lose yourself in the process. When you start to set boundaries and slow down a bit, it's interesting how things change. People start taking responsibility for their own stuff, which is good for them and for you. A powerful quote by Seneca captures this idea perfectly. True generosity is to give what is needed, not just what is asked for. This quote reminds us that sometimes the greatest gift we can give is not to fulfill every request, but to enable others to fulfill their own needs. It is in this balance that we find the essence of true generosity. Generosity that enriches all involved, doesn't drain our lives, and doesn't fall into a cycle of constant giving. Remember, you don't just have to be generous, you have to be generous with your mind. This is how you help others without losing yourself in the process. Sixth, excessive kindness can breed suspicion. The art of living according to our values, regardless of the opinions of others, is the lesson that Stoicism gives us. The goal is to follow one's principles by building a sincere and sustainable reputation. However, in a world where genuine kindness is rare, excessive kindness can be perplexing. People may begin to question your motives, asking themselves, why is this person being so generous? What's in it for them? This doesn't necessarily mean you come across as a cynical person. It's often just a realistic reaction. People are used to seeing kindness with an undertone, so when someone comes along who is eager to give everything away and help, it can seem suspicious. They may have encountered people who seem kind but have hidden self-serving agendas. This experience makes them cautious and even skeptical of genuine acts of kindness. However, this does not mean that you should temper your generosity. Rather, it's about finding a balance. Be kind, but also be transparent. Let your actions speak to your integrity. Remember, it's not about seeking approval. It's about being true to your values. Over time, consistent and balanced kindness can break down the walls of suspicion by showing the sincerity of your intentions. This is the kind of authenticity advocated by Stoicism, a virtue that stands the test of time and skepticism. Seventh, the risk of falling into addiction. The risk of falling into dependence is a danger that Stoicism warns us about, especially when it comes to giving. It's all about moderation and self-control. When you give too much and always find yourself being the one that others lean on, it can lead to dire consequences. You can start to deal with stress and emotional exhaustion. And that's where the risk of addiction creeps in. You may find yourself overeating or perhaps gambling too much just to fill the void created by constant giving. Stoics encourages us to listen to those close to us if they are expressing concern. If a friend or family member expresses concern, it's worth paying attention. We often fall into denial when faced with the possibility of addiction. It's easier to brush off their concerns than to acknowledge the problem. But these comments usually come from a place of caring and love. Accepting this feedback is a step toward self-reflection and growth. It's important to remember that those who care about us are not trying to criticize or judge. Their caring attitude is a way of respecting ourselves and our path to a balanced life. It is the practice of Stoicism in real life, using moderation and self-control to avoid harmful behaviors that can be detrimental to our health and happiness. In the end, recognizing and addressing these risks is a sign of strength. It demonstrates a commitment to one's own well-being in accordance with the Stoic principles of balance and introspection. Eighth, problems with unbalanced relationships. Problems with unbalanced relationships can be caused by often being the one others rely on in difficult situations. It's nice to feel needed, but gradually you start to notice that you're not on the guest list for dinner or casual weekend get-togethers. You help them through the tough times, but when it comes to sharing the fun and good times, you're left out. This realization can hurt, because you're not just a helper, but a person who also craves fun and companionship. This common scenario often leads people to categorize others based on what they bring to their lives by labeling them. But as a result, you miss out on the opportunity to be a friend, and equal to yourself. This is unfair and disturbing because you begin to wonder if you are valued for who you are or only for what you can do for others. It's important to consider the Stoicism approach. Stoicism is not the absence of emotion, but an understanding of human nature and wise behavior. It can be a chance to re-examine your relationships and test your ability to discern who values you as a person and who sees you only as a means to an end. The strategy of Stoicism also encourages us to reflect on our role in this relationship dynamic. We must consider our needs and express them, as well as set boundaries. In this way, we begin to attract people who value us for our whole selves, not just our willingness to help in a particular moment. This is not only in keeping with the principles of Stoicism, but also fosters more fulfilling and balanced relationships. Ninth, lack of reasonable boundaries with loved ones. The absence of reasonable boundaries with loved ones is something that Stoic wisdom teaches us. It teaches us to set reasonable boundaries in our relationships with those close to us, whether with family or friends. It is often difficult for us to say no, for fear of offending or appearing callous. After all, our relationships are built on trust and caring, right? But Stoicism teaches us that true caring does not mean giving of ourselves without limits at excess, but rather appreciating our own strengths and resources. We should be willing to help, but within reason. It is important to learn to express our needs lovingly but firmly. We can promise to help within our means or explain that we can spare a certain amount of time to help. The key is to communicate our position calmly and respectfully. We don't need to feel guilty or ashamed for expressing our boundaries. After all, it is better to refuse help when you can give a little less, but honestly and without internal resistance, than to agree and then regret it. Practice expressing your boundaries gradually, starting with small things, and over time you will feel more confident in setting boundaries in serious matters. The key is to go with your heart and remember that self-care is also an expression of love, but for yourself. Your loved ones may be offended or misunderstand you at first, but a mature relationship is one where they respect and consider each other's needs. This is the manifestation of true Stoic wisdom in interpersonal relationships. 10th, underestimation of personal time. Underestimating personal time is one of the most common problems in today's world. Often we don't value our hours and minutes enough, consumed by the endless stream of obligations and requests from those around us. However, Stoicism counts the teachings of cherishing time and using it wisely. In a world of constant running, it is easy to fall into the trap of endless obligations. We respond to every request, agree to unnecessary appointments, and as a result, find our real lives passing us by. The value of each moment of time was poignantly emphasized by Seneca, who said that life is short, and no one knows how much time is allotted to us. So, how can we learn to value our hours and minutes the same way we value money? It's important to learn to give up the non-essentials in favor of what really matters in our lives. Life is too short to waste it on trivial things. We must fill every day and hour with deep meaning so that not a single day is wasted. Strive to focus your time on what is truly important and valuable to you. Take a Stoic approach to time as life's greatest gift. Do not allow others to manage your time without your consent. Set boundaries and learn to say no to things that don't bring you true fulfillment and meaning. B. Strategy number 1. Mastering the art of saying no. Mastering the art of saying no plays an important role in achieving a balanced life, which is a core tenet of Stoic philosophy. Stoics advocate a conscious and balanced allocation of our resources, including time and energy. This is where the power of saying no comes into play. Saying no is not just a refusal, it is a declaration of self-respect and a recognition of one's boundaries. It is a realization that not every request or demand deserves your consent. Many of us are used to seeing no as something negative, feeling guilty or resentful. However, saying no is not pessimism, but practical wisdom. It's about protecting your well-being and focusing your efforts where they matter most. To master the art of saying no, or start by practicing in situations that don't require much effort. Gradually, you will develop this skill by realizing that every time you say no, you are making a choice about how to spend your life. It's not selfishness, it's self-preservation. Remember that the ability to say no is a skill that needs to be developed. It may not seem comfortable at first, but with practice, it will become a powerful tool for maintaining balance in your life. By mastering the art of saying no, you regain your freedom and protect yourself from being overburdened or exploited, which is a fundamental step toward living a life that aligns with your values and priorities. Strategy number 2. Tune in to your emotions. Tuning into your emotions is an important aspect of Stoic introspection, which is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. This process is about understanding your emotions and reactions, which is essential to maintaining psychological balance. The strategy is to listen to your feelings and emotions that arise while helping others. Ideally, generosity should bring a sense of fulfillment and joy, similar to the feeling of walking on clouds. However, if you feel depleted, resentful, or exploited in the process of helping, this is a signal that something may not be right. These negative emotions after helping are your internal compass that indicates when it's time to re-examine your boundaries. Creating moments of reflection after helping someone will help you recognize how you are feeling in the moment and how it affects your well-being. It is essential to ask yourself the questions: what am I feeling right now? Am I energized or depleted? Do I feel valued or used? This self-reflection is not about guilt or self-condemnation, but is an honest self-assessment and respect for your feelings. By listening to your emotions, you can make adjustments to your actions. This may include setting boundaries, saying no more often, or choosing more carefully who you help and how you help them. The strategy of tuning into your emotions will help you find a balance between helping others and taking care of yourself according to the principles of Stoic philosophy. Strategy number 3. Beware of energy vampires. The wisdom of Stoicism emphasizes the importance of discernment and self-discipline in relationships, especially when it comes to energy vampires. Energy vampires are people whose company constantly leaves you exhausted, overwhelmed, and emotionally drained. They are often prone to complaining, pessimism, and exaggerating problems, which can significantly drain your mental and emotional resources. The Stoicism strategy for dealing with energy vampires is not about being harsh, but about wise discernment. It means recognizing that some people, no matter how hard you try to help them, may not change or benefit from your support. They are not necessarily bad people, but their impact on your well-being can be extremely negative. It's important to set firm boundaries with these people. If you consistently feel worse after interacting with someone, this is a signal that you need to reevaluate the relationship. This doesn't mean cutting off communication abruptly or becoming indifferent to their problems. Rather, it means limiting your exposure to their negativity and protecting your own emotional health. Practically, it may mean setting limits on the time you spend with them or the kind of support you offer. Sometimes it may be necessary to end relationships with these people. Remember that Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control other people, but we can control our reactions to them. Choosing where and with whom to invest your energy shows wisdom and self-preservation. Strategy number 4. Respect for your space and time. Respecting your space and time is a key aspect of self-esteem. This strategy is based on understanding the importance of making time and space for yourself. It's about making time for activities that bring you joy and relaxation, whether it's yoga, painting, or just a cup of tea with music. These moments are vital to your well-being, so see this time of self-care as a meeting with yourself. Respecting your time is just as important as any other commitment in your schedule. Make it a priority to fulfill your commitments efficiently so that you can make time for these rejuvenating activities. It's important to take this practice seriously by scheduling it regularly, whether it's daily or weekly. In addition, be mindful of your commitments to yourself. Saying no in these situations is okay. It's not about being uncooperative or not caring about others. It's about respecting your own needs. You can be polite but firm by explaining that you have an obligation to yourself. If you want to go to a meeting, offer to help at another time, but let them know that your willingness has limits. This approach will help you maintain a healthy balance between helping others and taking care of your own needs, which is consistent with the Stoic principles of respect and self-preservation. Stoic wisdom will teach us that balance is a key aspect of all areas of life, and generosity is no exception. If we give too little, we can come across as selfish and stingy. And if we give too much, we risk exhaustion. That's why it's important to find a middle ground between helping others and taking care of ourselves. Always remember that when you are not sure whether you should give or not, the word no can be your greatest ally. If you found usefulness in this information, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment. May your journey be filled with resilient wisdom. See you soon.